That's what I'm trying to work on still.
Okay. Well, you're in the right place.
Right?
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see. Did it work?
Yep,
Yay
we're
or nay?
recording. Well, it says we're recording.
It says go live. Weird. Go live. Go live.
Yep, now we're live.
Can you see it on the page itself?
I'm getting there. I'm trying to refresh
All
here.
right.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, hands up. Yeah, we're on. We're running. All right. I'm not going to monitor it unless I have to.
I'll monitor.
Okay. Sweet. Welcome to Tuesday night edition Battle Buddies Live, everybody. We've got special guest tonight. She is the sub 5 foot tall hand grenade. Don't mess with her, ladies and gentlemen, because she will wreck you. And
Touche.
what I think, if I remember right, a hand grenade's worth a 10-foot diameter for kill and 15 for maiming. Could be meters. And I'm sure someone like Oogie Boogie will correct me and troll me on the post. Anyway, Pete, you want to introduce yourself? And then OJ, you can as well.
Okay, why not? I'm Pete Lavelle, the resume resource for the group. Proudly been hanging with Battle Buddies since close to the beginning, and happy to be here tonight to field your resume concerns and questions. Take it away.
Hey, I'm OJ. I am prior Air Force, whoop whoop, and security forces. So I'm an admin on the page, and I do a lot of behind the scenes work with veterans on certain things, and I monitor the page to make sure everybody's playing nicely.
So before we get too deep in this, OJ, could you tell people what you did in the Air Force again? Did you say it? I can't remember if you disclosed that or not.
Oh, Chuck, I know, because you're Army, you may not have been able to hear it well, but it's security forces.
And what does that do for non-Air Force people like me?
Oh, we play law enforcement.
Okay.
We are not infantry, but we
Base
play law
defense,
enforcement.
perimeter, base, all that good stuff.
Wait.
Yeah.
Law enforcement duties, same thing as MP in the Army.
So what was it? Did you say infantry?
I said, no, we're not infantry.
Oh, not infantry. Okay.
Yeah, nice try, though. Nice try.
I saw one of your peers put on his resume, security forces / infantry.
Oh, boy.
And I was kind of confused by that. So I didn't know if I was missing something.
No, I would not recommend that because that's not what we are. I mean, we'd like to think we are, but we're not.
Okay. But you find bad guys.
Yeah.
They can be good guys that are bad guys and bad guys that are bad guys.
Oh, foreign and domestic.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm Chuck, one of the guys here at Battle Buddies. And you can send me a direct message if you want to know more. Anyhow, tonight we are going to discuss getting started with the resume. So Pete and I see a lot of these come pretty rough shape. Pete's actually a published fella, so he sees a lot of things that are done poorly. So our goal tonight is to get you to the point where if it's been like me 20 plus years in TAP, outside of TAP, your resume probably needs some updating. Even if you had a good resume a year ago, chances are some of the styles and kind of the trends out there have changed a little bit. We're going to need some minor tweaking. So Pete, you want to kind of touch on some of the resume stuff, and then we'll do a screen share and show you guys how to get started on some of this stuff.
Yeah, no, this is a great place to start. And just as a measure of my sincerity in saying that, I make my living off of writing resumes. So if I'm coming across and saying, hey, this resume builder is a great place to start, then it definitely take note that it is. You have to start somewhere. And from what we've seen coming down the pike for the do-it-yourselfers and for people that go through TAPs and stuff, come out with some pretty rough resumes that really don't do the job. And people are like, well, if that's not working, what will? One thing you want to keep in mind is that the resume it's your sales sheet. Forget the term resume for a minute. We'll call it that, but it's a sales sheet. So you're using that thing to get your foot in the door. You're never going to meet anybody. I shouldn't say never, but outside of networking, you're not going to meet anybody and be able to create that first impression any other way by offering up a resume. And to some other extent, of course, LinkedIn, but we're not here to talk about that. So within the context of resume, that is your first impression. So do you want to look like everybody else, or do you want to look like something unique? And what our goal here is to get you on the road to being unique, so that you're just as individual on that piece of paper or on that document as you are for real.
Okay, I want to get this one cleared up right away. Pete, one resume, one and done, yay or nay?
Negative, never. One resume, one job, and done. So you should have a resume. Your goal should be a resume that's finely tuned for each job you apply for, because you're trying to communicate to the person on the receiving end that this is their answer to their problem. You are the answer to their problem. So get that resume fine-tuned for the job and tell them in that resume why you're that person. And you do that by communicating your values specific to what they need. So it's almost like the one and done is kind of like creating a car when really you need a truck. But you say, hey, it's got 4 wheels and an engine. This should be a one and done deal. No, it's got to be tailored to that job. But let me tell you, once you build your basic infrastructure on paper in your document, fine tuning it is only a 10-15% of the hassle that it was to create the resume from new.
So guys, good quality chat today. The questions. Gets a Battle Buddy starter pack. Stickers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're putting the stakes up really high, valued at like $500, I think, is what those things are going for, right? So put in some questions. This is typically speaking where we get a lot of feedback. No matter, I still have people that are on the admin team that have been here since the beginning, a year and a half, that are still lost on resumes. So don't let that affect asking good questions in here. Throughout the week, if you're watching this recorded, we will, go back and answer some questions. We're going to put Pete's contact info in here, and my contact info, our LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out to us through email or through LinkedIn. Definitely connect with us on LinkedIn. And so one thing that to keep in mind too is if you have the typical veteran response, if you're just getting started with resumes and we get the I'm good at everything, just keep in mind that you're going to need a very different skill set written resume for each of those practices that you'd want to go into. So a plumber and an HVAC guy, while they're similar, they're not the same. And the same thing if you choose some of these different careers. So where I'm going with this is don't stuff 20 pounds of shit in a 5-pound resume.
Bingo.
So the resume should be specific. It should speak to the job or the career field that you're going into. And somebody might care that you worked at McDonald's when you were 14. But if it's not relevant to being the vice president of sales of a company that you're applying for, don't include it. You can talk about it, but you don't have to say that you're the fry master or whatever. Pete, anything else to add while I hit the screen share?
No, I'm just going to speak into the sales sheet aspect of it again. You don't have to include all the details. Again, you're trying to get into the heart of the reader. So when you fill out your application, you'll have, that's your opportunity to get the nitty gritty, the details down. In fact, you kind of have to, but that doesn't mean you have to have everything on the resume that you've ever done. So again, keep it to the minimum. They'll like you that much more when you don't try to impose on them to reading all this useless garbage.
So keep it short and simple as possible. Relevant. So here's the generator that I've been a fan of when it comes to getting people started. And I have a copy of this resume in the file section on the Battle Buddy page. So if you look at the left side of your computer, there's a tab that says Files. If you're mobile, it's on the top. You just click Files, and there's some of these sample resumes in there that you can use just to get started. So this is one that I did for a construction manager job. So My Perfect Resume is the name of the site that I'm using here today. There's another generator that is resume.com. I think that one may still be free. There's a charge for this one. It's not bad. You kind of get what you pay for. That's not a rip on the resume.com. I just know that it seems to be a little easier to work with for most people. So there's a bunch of hokey stuff, I guess you could say, that we could do as far as changing the formatting styles of the resume. But my point of using the generator is that it's going to do the heavy lifting for you. So we'll get into all the different pieces of this, but you can see the header. My contact info is up here. I use the old school 555-1212 number, like the movies from the 80s. This is actually my email address, and I don't run google.com, but it'd probably be a pretty cool thing if I would have started that, right? Like Loogle, I can't remember, Hot Tub Time Machine, right? I'd call it Chalk Gull or something. Hey, OJ, if there's anybody that throws in a question in there, just let us know, and we'll.
Yep, I'm watching. I'm on there now.
Okay, so once you get your basics in here, your name, your number, contact info, you want to make this person know who they're talking to immediately. And now when it comes to the resume, laying this out, the most important information should be at the top of the resume, because chances are that the person who's reading it has probably read 50 before yours, okay? So the top half, top 2/3 of the first page needs to be where you concentrate your efforts the most. 80% of your effort should go in to that first 2/3 of the page. So, Pete, anything to throw on in there?
Yeah, you want that professional summary to never have the word objective associated with it. A lot of people will do that, and a lot of people still try to teach that to put your objective statement in there. Absolutely the most wrong thing you can do on a resume. What do they care what your goals are? They have a problem to solve. You have to be that solution and not tell them about what you want to do.
Objective statement is a selfish statement. You are selling yourself to them. They want to know that you can break even or create a return on investment on their investment into your salary and compensation and everything else. At the end of the day, guys, hate to break it to you, may already know this, but you are a line item on a spreadsheet, and you're either making a company money or you're costing a company money. Some roles are overhead like that, where they require you to, them spend money on you, like say a safety guy or something like that, which is not going to get into accounting stuff on that stuff. But you are someone that they are essentially purchasing because of your ability to produce. This is where you have to show you can produce. So in this professional summary piece, you can see, so when I did this one, I took Oogie Boogie, for example, an infantryman, and I typed in infantryman. So you can see infantry right there, infantry team leader, fire team leader, officer, machine gunner, platoon sergeant, whatever, okay? But what that's not effective for is if you're gonna go from you were an infantry guy in the Army into, let's say, a salesperson, okay? So if you want to talk about how you are an infantry guy and you're going to go into physical security, this would probably be a good place to start. Pete, kind of agree with that somewhat roundabout way, but it would be better to put physical security guard in here to get started.
The more specific you can be, the more it's going to help the reader understand why you're submitting your resume. So
So let's just say we want to pretend like we're going to go in to be a sales manager. I can type sales manager, let's say regional sales manager. What I'm going to do before I show you, oh, it already got it. So you can see that the expert recommendation here has changed significantly to hardworking and driven sales management professional equipped to revitalize sales operation and align procedures to maximize profits, client acquisition. These are all pertinent to what it would be to be a sales manager. Just because you click on this, however, does not mean that's what you do unless you want to pop up on their plagiarism thing, because a lot of people now use these My Perfect Resume generators. So to stand out, this is where a fellow like Pete comes in, and when you get that basic resume over to them, they'll look at it kind of perplexed and be like, I've seen this before, and then they'll rework this kind of stuff. But this is, like I said, the heavy lifting piece of this. Now we're going to pretend like
Hey, Chuck, we got a question from an individual that you are friends with.
Oh,
the question is, Chuck, are you a PM or a CM?
A PM or a CM? Project manager? What? What's a CM?
No acronyms, please.
No acronyms. We're armied out for the day, guys. Okay.
That's another thing while we're on the topic on your resume. No acronyms, unless you're dead certain that that acronym is used in that industry in which you're applying into, and there's no way they're going to not know what that means. So,
hey, OJ,
for example, IT, that's a bit of an acronym. You can still use it.
Hold on. I got to get over there. Next question is, do you have tips for scouting companies to create a better tailored resume?
Scouting companies.
What's a scouting company?
What's the context there? I wonder. Question back. Clarify the question. Scouting companies. I'm not.
Hey, you know what?
I've been trying to figure out how to reply on these.
You know what I think's motivating people, Pete? Is the Battle Boy sticker starter pack.
Who wouldn't, right?
Yep. Only one winner.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Keep them coming. Hey, if you could clarify that scouting thing, that would be wonderful.
Yep, we'll do.
Okay, so as you can see here, I typed in plumber for the job, and you can see things relevant to being a plumber popped up here. This is where, you know, you kind of get the brain cramps, right? When you're starting off, typing up that resume. How do I get started? Here you go, right here. Let's say you want to be a magician. Magician. Is it a magician is even on here? Boom. Accomplished magician with X number of years. My point is that this will help you do the heavy lifting so you don't sit there, scratch your brain all day, and then 5 weeks later wonder how you're going to get your resume done. Because Pete, as you know, right, I had a hard time writing about myself. I had to send it over to you, and you banged it out like a boss. And I took a look at yours that one day and gave a little feedback. I didn't give any feedback, but you know, you really don't know how to write about yourself. And it feels kind of dirty being a vet.
Yeah, it is. And I understand. In fact, it's that psychology that allows me to have this career because people just can't do it. But just kind of step outside as best you can. And when you write these summaries, give it a read and ask yourself the question, is this telling them what I'm bringing to the table? Does what I write about the product, me, give the reader an understanding that I'm a pretty good candidate to help solve the problem that they have, and that is filling this position?
Okay. So getting back to this. So you can see how this will do a bunch of heavy lifting, okay? Now, depending on the career field that you're going into, scouting, looking at a company trying to be in detail operation. All right, hold on. All right, so we'll get to this and follow up with some questions here. So my personal preference here with best at the beginning of the resume is something that's going to differentiate you. Okay. Your accomplishments. Why would I want to talk to you about maybe bringing you on a staff and paying you a whole bunch of money every single month or year or a week or a day, whatever it happens to be? Well, that's because you're special and you've probably been recognized for something special in the past. And here's some of the things that you've done in the past. So, for example, this fella here was doing construction management and ran a $32 million project and got it done on time. That's kind of a big thing. Saved 8% on supply costs. That's a pretty big thing. When you're talking about a multi-million-dollar project, you're picking up people's salary and making that project that much more profitable. Those are the types of things that should be in your accomplishments.
Yep.
So that's a different
Numbers
section.
speak louder than words too. When you say you saved 8%, that is a value statement.
So then you guys, typically speaking anyways, you probably see the skills that the company's looking for. So you click on here, let's see, cashier, let's see, let's get back to that magician. Magician. What are typical skills for a magician? There you go, comedy, maybe I can be a magician. I was gonna do stand-up several years ago. Illusion.
Be great.
Prop use. I was gonna do open night mic downtown Minneapolis.
The scary action.
I was writing stuff down that was coming across me every single day. You know, stuff's kind of crazy for me. I had quite the stand-up. But you got to keep your material fresh is the tough part. Card tricks, stage makeup, direct audience participation. I guess these are the things needed to be a magician. Kind of looks like running Battle Buddies is pretty similar, right, OJ? Sleight of hand routine.
Some days.
Exactly. So writing and interpersonal communications. So, but you can see over here the construction management stuff. It popped up with the top things. You don't necessarily have to use this. When I am talking to somebody about using a baseline resume, what I'll do is I'll say, hey, use one thing as a placeholder, okay? And then what I suggest is that they take that job requisition and start typing in blueprints, might be one of the skills that they need to use. Maybe they're using Microsoft Project or something like that. Each one of these companies is going to have their own spin on certain things. SAP, for example, you know, it depends on what the job is. This is why starting off with that heavy lifting resume that Pete's talking about at the beginning of the show here tonight is very, very important. This is where you can start making up ground, is by having, you know, what do you say, Pete? How many skills, typically speaking, depending on the level of job, like entry level versus mid?
And I'm a bit anal when it comes to formatting, so I do 3 across, and I like to have at least 9 skills going 3 across the page. Not in columns, because we don't want to use Microsoft Word formatting features to build your resume, but just do it by tabs.
Okay, there's the answer from the expert, guys. So we'll hit the back button here. So certifications, all you IT guys, plumbing fellas. What else is big for certs these days, Pete?
Well, let me back up a sec to the skills. When you put those skills up in that section, make sure that they're appearing below in the body of the resume, because that helps with searchability. Make sense?
Anything else on there?
No. Forward.
Okay. Certs. So if you're a cert kind of person, a lot of jobs, especially IT, not too long ago, used to be huge on, you know, you got to have a 4-year degree. Now the 4-year degree in IT is kind of becoming a thing of the past, and having relevant certifications is one of those things.
Yeah.
I would suggest that certs be up higher than education these days in certain career fields.
Well, you can do that, but you want to, on that first page, to be able to get to the meat of the resume. So if you've got room on the first page to put some certs, but yet you're still allowing the person to read about the top third of your current position or your most recent position, then that's fine. Otherwise, I can go with education and certifications together.
So work history. Okay. This is the thing when I get a resume from Battle Buddy guys, gets a little sticky. Okay. It gets really ugly actually. Like get a black eye, beat up, ugly. Now these are all suggestions. You can do whatever you want, but these are the types of practices that we've seen really helps out you in, you're the reader, the person that you're marketing to.
Mm-hmm.
So the first part, like I said, channel manager, right? Boom. This is going to change all these things to channel manager. So let's say that your last job was construction project manager, but now you're going to go and be a channel manager. There's going to be a lot of things that you did as a project manager that will be in the same realm as channel manager. So this is where getting creative on the job is going to be, or on the resume is going to be critical. So the first 1, 2, 3 sentences should be a little overview of what your job responsibilities were. So like if you call up HR and you say, hey, what do I do every single day? There should be a brief description here as to what you did, because being one job title at one company doesn't necessarily translate into the next company to being the same thing. A small company of 50 people, it may have a completely different naming convention than somebody that's got 500,000 people globally. So the person should have a pretty good idea of what you did to earn a paycheck by the time they read those first couple of sentences. So Pete, anything else on that brief intro on each of the jobs there?
Again, just ask yourself after you read it, is it communicating value? Something that's in it for the reader. You got to be constantly asking yourself what's in it for them as you build this thing out. And there's no rule that says you got to take that. And we already told you don't take that verbatim. Those descriptions, you got to rewrite them a little bit. But it's just to give you a base. But yeah, always ask what's in it for the reader in this statement.
Okay, so when it gets into the bullet points, guys, here's where you have to look at what you did to add value every single day to that last place that you worked at. Don't put in there that you showed up to work every day. Mm-hmm. Don't put in there you ate lunch every day.
If that bullet doesn't add value and it just sounds like a piece of job description language, your resume will probably do just fine without it. Don't be afraid to not put bullets.
Save the world 5 times. That's a big thing.
That's huge.
That's huge.
That's significant.
Saved a company. I mean, let's say you work at Walmart, right? And you were in the logistics group and you managed to shave off, 2 hours, or let's just say 5 minutes per truckload on average across Walmart's entire fleet for loading those vehicles. You start multiplying that number out as far as what you saved Walmart as a company. You saved them millions of dollars in time, labor, probably increased their safety, all of these other types of things. Those are the types of things that you would want to be talking about in here. So, for example, let's say, this was for construction manager. Let's say that you, as a squad leader, for example, I don't know. You guys got squad leaders in the Air Force. I don't know how that works, Pete.
Flight leader.
A flight leader. Okay,
Yeah.
so you as a flight leader, let's say
Like
that
Chiefs.
I don't know what Air Force crap is. But let's safety. I don't care where you go. My kid works at Gap. Safety's a big thing for them. So let's say that you managed that the first sergeant didn't kill any of your guys, and he killed 5 people on average at your previous squad leader per year, right? And now you brought the first sergeant deaths down to 0. See, this is where the comedy stuff comes in, right?
But I'm bummed.
Trying. You would want to talk about the safety aspects of motor pool incidents dropped down to 0% over X period of time. And then when it comes to CAR, challenge action results, that should cover all of those bases. So you want to narrate that. So let's say that you did you have a safety bullet. You can add sub bullets because you did 5 different initiatives if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that says that you have to have X amount of bullet points here. What you need to have is X amount of bullet points that are relevant to the job description that you are applying to.
Mm-hmm.
What else am I missing here, Pete?
No, I'm just thinking with a sub bullet. Not too many people do that, and that's good to our advantage because we can put in a sub bullet, and that little action on the paper just makes you a little bit more distinguishable. And it also says, "Hey, I'm really thorough about what I'm speaking into here, and communicating as much value as I can."
Okay, so heavy lifting. This is a heavy lifting process here, okay? So, if I put in, my last job in the Army was a meteorologist, okay? Artillery meteorologist. Oh, no, it doesn't even pop up. I feel so bad. Let's just try meteorologist. Doesn't even pop. I can't even find my job, my military job. Okay, let's pretend like we are an important security forces person.
We are
Security
pretty important.
Forces. Okay, so what is that? Oh, security forces flight chief. Would that be one of them, or officer, or patrol?
No, we're gonna stick with flight chief.
Flight chief.
Or you could do security forces apprentice too. Either one.
Okay. So let's say that you were going to go and be a construction manager. So you could wordsmith this one: apprehended and detained suspects, searched persons and property, and conducted interviews to gather evidence. Pete, is that an effective thing for a construction manager if that was on a resume?
No, not so much. But you could alter that as your base your base information, and talk about how you led people, how you use your analytical skills to identify problems and sources of problems. Does that make sense?
So, here's one that would probably be a little more where you could wordsmith it: maneuvered communication vehicles, intrusion detection equipment, and other special purpose equipment to facilitate operations. So if in construction, you use a lot of different equipment, right?
Yep.
This is where you could get creative with your ability to write. Same with this: lead, manage performance, or perform force protection duties to protect personnel and resources. You could change that into some sort of security of the safety of your people. So
maintaining your situational awareness so that everybody, including yourself, is safe at all times.
Exactly. So this is where the heavy lifting thing, these resume generators come in handy. Mm-hmm. This isn't going to give you a document where you just be able to click a bunch of stuff and be done with it in 5 minutes. This is a great place to just start, like I said. So,
Chuck, are you familiar with the military skills translators that are out there?
Not that much. I think that's a good thing to talk about, though.
Yeah, I know they're free. and there's a couple of them out there. I think Monster has one. There's somewhere on a military.com has a skills translator. So if you got a highly technical, very military oriented skill that you need to decipher into civilian speak, you might want to use in conjunction with this resume builder, go out to military, have your military skills translated to get you one step closer to what you're looking at now. Just Google free military skills, military to civilian skills translator. You'll find something.
So the weighting of your resumes, guys, chances are that your most recent experience is going to be most relevant. So it should be a little heavier as far as your accomplishments, the efforts that you put into there, etc. When it comes to volunteer experience, that's something that you can put in there. So if you guys coach a little league or you run a robot league or who knows what kind of stuff is out there now. These guys that I was online with here a couple months back, they run a RC car group, which is pretty cool. Put that stuff in there. This shows what your personality is, what your passions are. People are hiring people to work with one another for 50, 60 hours a week often. You don't want the one jerk off on your team. So this is how you can see, oh, hey, at least he gives back to his community, or she does. And that's pretty cool. What, this thing, it's works as a great icebreaker too for the person that's interviewing you. Education, unless you're coming straight out of college, I think that should be on the bottom. Pete, what's your opinion on that?
No, that's fine. That's generally where we put it. The only time I put it towards the top is when that's kind of their strongest offering, and that would be like a new graduate with no career experience down there. So yeah, you're right where you want to be.
Okay, so then if you guys get done here, this template that you see here, what you do is you want to download it into Word so you can rework it, because this will not scan into these applicant tracking systems very well. So like I said, this is a heavy lifting machine here, is all this is. This gives you a lot of the common words associated in those ATSs. So it increases your likelihood of being able to play the game that HR uses for tools to screen people at a faster pace. Now, if you want to play around with some of this stuff, you can change the colors like kind of in real time. You can just scroll over. You can have your significant other in your life kind of give you some feedback on there. There's some different formatting tools that this will give you. If you just scroll over, you can see a change in kind of real time here. Pete, here, I'm just gonna click this for a second. I know what my opinion is on this. This one that segments it into like 2/3 versus 1/3. That's a nightmare, correct?
Well, it's a waste of real estate for one thing. It doesn't really, it looks kind of cool, like kind of sales brochure-y,
one page,
but it doesn't help the reader understand what you need, because they're reading left to right, top to bottom. Keep in mind that the first person to get this is going to be a screener, not even the person who understands the job as well as the hiring manager. And their job is to screen these resumes. So when you make them more difficult for them to get at the information that they need to make a decision in your favor, then you're not going to get them to make that decision in your favor. And all you want them to do is pass it on to somebody. So keep it simple, left to right, top to bottom, as far as the direction of reading. And what a lot of people don't know about these ATSs is they really don't parse certain Microsoft Word features like tables, columns, text boxes. If you double click on the header and footer and throw information in there, it doesn't usually read those very well. So, I've had people who say, I did a resume, I'm not getting any feedback, and I know I can do this job. And then I get their resume, and here all their contact info is up in the header, and it's just not getting seen. So just keep it straightforward in that regard. But that doesn't mean keep it simple looking, because there's an exercise I want to talk you through, Chuck.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep. Want me to hand over screen control?
or you could just do it. It's really simple. Just go out to a blank internet page, Google page, type in any job title. Just make one up. Then type resume. Oops, go back. Just add resume to it. Now go to the images tab. You want to try to break out of what you're seeing there. So people who have to screen dozens, if not hundreds of resumes at a time, this is what their life becomes. It's a sea of redundancy. You just see black, white, you see columns, you see, if you do see something different and kind of unique, chances are it's from a professional firm. But you want to try to break out of that mold. And Word gives you a lot of template choices, but believe me, they've seen them all. I mean, there's millions of people who apply for hundreds of thousands of jobs, and Word might have 20 templates. So yes, they will have seen that template over and over already. So try to break out of that. Give yourself some unique look and feel on your resume. Turn it back over to you.
Okay. So when you get done with your resume, you can download this. Pete, who should you send it to once you download this thing and you doll it up in Word for a couple of hours? Should you send it straight to the hiring manager or to your buddies?
No, send it to yourself. Have a look at it and answer those crucial questions. Am I communicating value? Am I solving the reader's problem with this resume? Because you have competitors and you want to beat them. Yo.
Hey, nice to see you again. So that little Zoom box. OJ, what kind of feedback have you got for us from yourself on this? I know this is something that you're going to be working on yourself here soon, to just at least have a professional resume set aside. And you're on mute.
Figuring that out here as I go. Mine is mostly LinkedIn. My resume is, for the most part, pretty up to par, minus my objective statement that is still there because I have not removed it yet. But I haven't had a reason to at this moment. I've been in the same position now for, the same department anyways for a while. So, but maybe soon. We're getting some stuff on the page. People, one types in here that she's applying to a local media company and she has to revamp her resume and fix her LinkedIn. And then another is saying that she is willing to have somebody look at her resume on her LinkedIn and critique it. And so I reminded her of our topic section where we have resume information and assistance, and several veterans and members on this page that are willing to help with that, and to put a comment under there. So we do have that. I wanted to remind folks that there are many on the page that are willing to assist, or they could reach out to Pete and have him assist as well, or you.
Yeah, I can help as time allows, of course. So if I don't get back to you right away, don't take it as a slight. I'm just pretty busy.
Yeah. Pete and I, depending on how nice you are, we do have a scanner that will give you some statistics on how well and you can do the resume on your own. Jobscan.co, no M. Highly suggest that for your resume needs. How many scans you get, Pete, for free? Is it 15 or 25?
Yeah, something like more than you'll probably need, unless you're having some other issues that we don't know about. But you should be able to get by with the free scan. But you know what you can always do is you can clear your browser cache, and I think it won't recognize it with the cookies that may have been deposited there, and keeping count will have been gone, and you can start all over. Or I just download a new browser, go to with Firefox and log back in all over again and give them a different email, and you're good to go. So you can always scam those systems and get more out of them than what they initially offer.
And the thing that is not free is the LinkedIn scan. So that's something that you just got to talk to us one-off on. That is very powerful. I know that when I did mine that I almost doubled my weekly hits on the LinkedIn scan. So, and when I looked at my scoring, the analytics side on jobs within my career field, when I put it up first, I scored like a 35%. And traffic was people that I would expect to be looking at my stuff. Now I think I score in the 90s and I get strange people looking, people that I don't even know.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's impressive. But you know, the big thing is that this scanning tool that we've got, it just makes you more likely to be found when somebody's looking for your types of skills. Right, Pete?
Yep.
Pretty safe way to put it.
Yeah.
You know, I think too, the biggest thing, you know, for those that are just coming on or that are going to watch this video later is the fact that you have to tailor your resume to each job that you are applying for. And the transferable skills is the biggest thing, because you need to show those off. Those need to be the forefront of what they're going to get from you with the experience that you have with those transferable skills.
When the biggest thing that I see when it comes to what people probably need the most work on is talking about how well they did their job in each of those jobs that they performed. So, you know, it's just like, why would I read your job description if I'm a hiring manager? Explain that to me. I don't give a shit that, you know, you took headcount every single day. What I do care about is how well your team performed and what things you did to make life better for those people and make, you know, them more profitable to the company. Tell me about that stuff, or I'm not interested in listening to you. If you can't do that, don't write it. Don't feel like obligated to write a 50-page resume. If you do that, no one's going to read it anyways. But Pete, better to have a half a page resume that's like on point than a 4-page resume that's all shit, right?
Right. Again, it's just to get their attention and get them interested in you. When you fill out the application, that's where you're going to put all your details, dates, jobs, and all that, and even stuff that's not relevant. But the resume is the teaser that you're going to need, the sales sheet that you're going to need to get them interested to call you. Keep it relevant.
I don't have anything else tonight to talk about here. I think what we'll do next week is we'll take one of these resumes and kind of do what we did as far as tweaking with the job scan. I think that would be pretty valuable. Now, once your buddies and your family and people that pretend like they love you, because I don't know what that feels like. I swear to cry. Just kidding. What you do with your resume then when you get that back is you start sending that out to your network, okay? And that's where you start networking. That's a whole different topic. I don't want to go down that path, but you're far better off sending out one tailored resume per day than the same piece of junk 100 times in one day. By the end of the week, out of 500 dirty resumes sent out versus 5, your chances of getting some feedback and somebody that wants to talk to you because you spent time making a resume that is actually, it fits the job that you're applying to, you're a lot more likely to have somebody want to talk to you. Best way is with a referral. You want to use a multi-pronged approach to this. This resume, if you think you're going to get a job because of a resume, because of it, and that's it, big mistake, right, Pete?
Yeah. I mean,
critical component.
It happens, but those are the exceptions to the rule. And really, a good resume will make the rest of the process easier, though. So if you can get them to like you based on what they read on that paper, then they're a little more enthused about interviewing you. They're kind of looking forward to it because really, I mean, the other side of the reality coin here is that it's hard to find good people. So if you come off as a good people on that resume, then you're helping them out.
OJ, any last questions that popped up in there?
Yeah, we just got one now. How do I transition from labor to corporate?
Easy. No, that's a kind of a generic question.
Yeah.
So if you're, I'm assuming, I'm going to take it as if you're doing manual labor, how do you go from doing something such as construction labor to corporate?
You know,
Within the same company or with the same industry, I would assume.
we've had this kind of stuff come in before, where guys are in the trades. For example, they come into Battle Buddies, and their IT cybersecurity seems to be a big transition, right, Pete? I mean, how many
Yeah.
of those people have we had? A lot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always, you get these HR people, and I don't, that might have sounded like I was saying it like it's dirty. Kind of sounds that way, but you got to remember that HR's got this job that they're doing, and the hiring managers they come to them and they say, hey, get me a guy like Bob who worked here for 48 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, the guy that knows everything, and he didn't push for raises for a really long time, and he was working for about half of what the going market rate is. So yeah, put me together a job rec. I want someone who's 25, who's got 50 years worth of experience and 7 PhDs. And I want him to work for $22,000 a year, right? I mean, it's like, are you kidding me?
Right.
So the biggest transition hurdle that I've seen anyways is, how do I get experience if I don't have experience? And that is really a tough transition. And the only way that I've seen people really be effective breaching that is a good solid written resume and busting ass on the prospecting perspective and networking perspective. We look at the resume as an administrative aspect of the job search. The real work begins once you've got that baseline resume.
Mm-hmm.
It's like hunting. I've used this analogy before, where you've got the bird dog and then you've got the shooter. So preferably you're the shooting fella. But like when we go out pheasant hunting, for example, I'm glad I'm not the dog running. And I'm glad I can sit back and be the shooter. So I'm the guy on the referral aspect of, one thing that drives me crazy is, hey, find me a job. It's like, oh my goodness, for real? You want me to do all of the bird dog in here? No. If you want me to introduce you to someone that works somewhere that I'm good buds with, I'll do it in a half second if you're a good guy or good woman. Mm-hmm. But if you're a dirtbag, I'm just going to be like, I'm going to throw dog food your way. Okay. That's going to be the bird dog relationship we're going to have. But if you can prove to me that you're not going to embarrass me and destroy my word when you go out networking, I'll throw the filet mignon your way all day long. Networking is a whole different monster that we've done a lot of stuff on it before.
Yeah.
We'll continue to do it. But, this isn't 1997 when I got out, where you do a resume, you send it in an email to someone, or you go drop it off on the secretary's desk out front. That game is done.
Yeah.
That game is done. So I see works in appliances now. You want to be a programmer? Whoever wrote that,
program manager,
you're going to have to look at appropriate job titles.
What does a program manager do that you've done as an appliance in your work with appliances? I mean, have you ran crews? Have you made decisions? Have you managed a project to get like a development full of appliances and get them on time and kind of ran that deal? You got to find commonalities. And I'm not trying to make fun, but I say I want to be a cargo plane pilot, running guns overseas, but I've been a crew chief all my life. Okay. There's some intersections there. I know aircraft. I know aircraft operations. I fixed them. I know how they work. All I got to do is fill that gap where I don't know how to fly, so I guess I'm going to need some additional training. So you want to take an assessment of what skills you own that would work in the program management field, and then seek out what you need to get in terms of training and education. Shifting careers is a very strategic move. It's not something you just wake up and can pivot on a dime and jump into. So, I want to communicate that out to everyone. And maybe that's another topic we talk about for one night is you can't make a significant transition in your career and shift from one thing to another without a plan. You've got to have a plan. You got to figure out what it takes, and definitely don't be jumping ship before you have that plan in place and are ready to get the job that you ultimately want. And it might take, if you can't do appliance hauling those things around anymore, find something that you can do similar in pay so you don't lose ground financially, and then step back and figure out how you're going to execute the rest of this plan. I hope that helps.
Yeah, in to kind of dovetail on that, one of the things right now is challenging. So, when COVID hit in March, the unemployment rate, I think, was low threes here in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
You could kind of pick and choose if you wanted to change jobs at that point. I think we're 9-ish now, right, Pete? Somewhere in there, high 8s. So full employment's 5.5%. When that number drops below 5.5, that's when you can start being a little more picky on those transitions. So right now, you have to follow Pete's advice. The market just isn't going to support a drastic change, at least for the comparable pay, typically speaking. So this is where a smart transition plan makes a world of difference. You can do it.
Yeah.
You can absolutely do it. I did it back in 2017 myself. I went from being a sales guy to software development, lifecycle management, director, nonsense stuff. And I tell you what, I was way over my head. I figured it out pretty quick, but I'm surprised that they took me on to do what I was doing.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. I mean, straight up. So.
And I think a lot of people with their hearts in the right place, and they advise these things when you're, especially these outplacement companies and stuff and HR people at the forefront of a layoff, and they say, hey, this is a great time to just decide, hey, what do I want to be when I grow up, or what can I do now? And they encourage this transition operation. It's like, no, you could not pick a more worse time. You're about to be put on the street. You're about to voluntarily separate from the military, and you're definitely doing a career transition, but how well that works for you, it depends on your plan. Gots to have a plan.
Right. OJ, any last questions in there before we hang it up for the evening? So Pete and I can get to what we wanted to watch this evening. That's why we're running this early.
Yeah, that's
we don't
what I'm getting ready to watch
debate the
too.
matter, but
yeah, exactly.
They've started prelims.
Prelims?
So,
okay. Well, I'm getting my popcorn
started.
Ready here as soon as we get out of this.
Nope, that was the final question. Chuck says you rock, and he appreciates your words.
Well, I guess that hey, flattery will not get you the sticker starter pack, Chuck.
It might.
But I at least can't say that publicly.
I don't even have stickers yet.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I think that's it for this evening, everybody. Appreciate you joining in. We're going to sign off. So, adios.
Good night,
Adios.
everybody.
Have a good night.
See ya.